All right, what up, y'all? It's your man Sam and here at Viral Hip Hop News. Tory Lanez, new evidence proving his innocence. We're going to talk about it. Before we do that, though, quick word from our sponsor. Want a live interview with Viral Hip Hop News? Email me, Sam Ant, at dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Let's go. Artist, entrepreneur, if you have music or a brand that you want to promote here on Viral Hip Hop News, email me, dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Get an interview with me, promote it on the platform. I love doing it. I love when people come on and share their stuff. So let's get to work. All right, so a new legal team presented new evidence in Tory Lanez's case against Meg the Stallion. We all know why he's sitting behind bars right now. We all know what he went through yesterday in a very unfortunate stabbing incident that happened behind bars. That type of shit happens in that world, in that life. And I'm sure there's repercussions and things that are going to come from that in that world. That's another story for another day. But after that, 24 hours later, we have a legal team coming out with new evidence. I'm going to play a few clips from this, I guess you can call it press conference out in Los Angeles, California, and then get my thoughts on it. Let's hear the first clip. Let's go.
Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Ms. Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Ms. Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA taken? Or was it taken and the information simply never given to the defense? Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken and again, simply not given to the defense?
I got another clip of another gentleman speaking on it, but before I do, goddamn, where were these brothers at when Tory Lanez was actually going through trial for this shit? Why didn't his defense say any of this? Why wasn't that brought up that there were other people in the car, and why aren't their DNA samples being brought up? It seems like just off of that brief clip that there was a serious malpractice when it came to his defense team and presenting evidence in this case and presenting arguments in this case. And I could be wrong. I'm no lawyer. I didn't look through the fine, intricate details of that case to know or not know. So pardon my ignorance if I'm wrong on that situation. But hearing that man speak, it's like, damn, why wasn't any of this brought up as far as an evidence perspective or DNA? Why wasn't this brought up during the case to fight that? And if it was brought up and it was held against him, or like, it just doesn't make common sense, would tell you, okay, there's 2 other people in the car. I need their DNA samples too. So how could it be kept away from the defense, or how could they not know? It just seems weird to me. Now, as far as this brother coming out and speaking her bodyguard and wanting to kind of release his soul and tell the truth because he doesn't want an innocent man behind bars. Well, brother, with all due respect, goddamn, this would have helped had it been done during the trial or during that time when evidence was being presented and we could have really fought for this shit if, in fact, Tory Lanez did not shoot Meg the Stallion. I still don't know whether or not it's true. I'm not going to sit back and judge either one of them now. You know what I'm saying? I don't know whether or not it's true or not, but people that do, if they are withholding evidence or were withholding evidence, shame on you. What the fuck were you doing that for? Makes no sense. But hope I didn't empty my clip before we heard the other brother speak. Gonna let him talk, and then I'll give my thoughts on the entire thing. Let's go.
Said DNA analysis showed that there was a 0.01% chance that Tory touched the actual gun itself. Another piece that stood out to me, the call that the prosecution alleged Tory made confessing to a crime. I listened to that call. I'm sure many of you have as well. I didn't hear a confession. But what really shocked me about it is if my best friend was shot maliciously by someone just 2 to 3 hours before, I wouldn't have answered the call, or if I did, I wouldn't calmly have a conversation with the individual of it. And certainly I would ask, why did you shoot my friend? And more importantly, I would never have given you my current location out of fear of you finishing the job. That was something that stood out to me. I also, in my op-ed, discussed Kelsey Harris pleading the Fifth Amendment. She wasn't accused of anything by Megan Pete or the police, and to my knowledge, she wasn't under any investigation. So why plead the Fifth? What also shocked me is the prosecution gave her immunity. For what? What did she do? Is there an allegation of her doing something? I'm not aware of that. Maybe some of you can answer that question today. During the time of trial, George Gascon, just to take you back to where we were at that particular point, he had just barely won a recall attempt. He lost support in many key demographics of voters. Crime was up in Los Angeles County. And this case would have been a silver bullet for him potentially winning. His policies obviously were bad and people were harmed. So that didn't happen, and thank God it didn't happen. At the heart of this injustice is the misuse of gun enhancement charges, a sentencing tool intended for the most dangerous and violent offenders. In Tory Lanez's case, these enhancements were not supported by evidence. But George Gascon, interestingly enough, who is someone who regularly would drop enhancements or not recommend them, chose to provide enhancements to Tory. And in his case, in any given situation, according to legal analysts I've spoken with, he would do 1 or 3 years if he did it without the enhancement. That's interesting. Why did George Gascon choose to pursue these enhancements? You know, there's cases I've been looking through which George Gascon has pursued, many in which he utilized these enhancements. A couple come to mind that I would like to reference here. One, Raymond Danger Gonzalez, a Mexican mafia gang member involved in a premeditated murder of 2 young men in 2017. Despite the brutality of the crime, Gascon didn't recommend enhancements. You premeditated murdered a teenager and another individual, brutal crime. Why would you recommend enhancements, but you would recommend them for Tory? That doesn't make a lot of sense. He also didn't pursue sentencing enhancements for the senseless murder of General Hospital actor Johnny Victor in Los Angeles in 2024. There's a lot of issues with this case. Many, I think, that the media should be pursuing all angles of it. We should not allow there to be unanswered questions. We should pursue.
Interesting. All right, so it seems like this team is trying to kind of push the conspiracy against Tory Lanez narrative that, you know what I mean, the prosecution, the judge never showed this kind of energy, or the prosecution was withholding evidence, allowing certain witnesses protection, and allowing the young lady to plead the Fifth, and not showing or providing DNA evidence for the other people in the vehicle. You have a judge that was seemingly non-active toward a certain ruling or judgment, now being proactive in this Tory Lanez judgment, when the 2 other previous occurrences seem far more severe than Tory Lanez situation, albeit everybody got fucking shot. So I'm not sitting here weighing out whose shooting is more severe than another shooting, but it just seems like they're trying to push the narrative of there was a conspiracy against Tory Lanez for whatever reason. And for whatever that reason is, you have an innocent man sitting behind bars. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. Now, to those who are more have more information or have more knowledge to the situation than me, please tell me in the comment section, do they have any legs to stand on? Does this new information provided by a bodyguard who was privy to certain situations and may have heard situations, is that enough for them to pursue a new case and potentially get Tory Lanez out of prison? Is the information that they just provided and more within the press conference, because we just showed 5 minutes of, I think it's a 50-minute press conference. Is there enough within that? Is there enough meat within that to open this case back up and get Tory Lanez potentially out of prison? I think they're calling for a pardon. Is it enough? Like I said, it's interesting as hell, but is it enough? I'm not sure. But y'all leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think of this situation. You have a defense team on behalf of Tory Lanez fighting for his freedom and fighting for his innocence. Very interesting stuff. Are they just kind of pursuing the steam off of his unfortunate incident in prison yesterday, or is there actual merit to the situation, and can we see a new trial or potentially even Tory Lanez pardon from the situation? Y'all let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Sam Ant, CEO of the brand Viral Hip Hop News. I love each and every one of y'all. Love yourselves. Please like, subscribe, and of course, share the video if you deem it worthy enough for a share. Appreciate y'all. Till next time, till next story. I'm out of here. Love y'all. Peace.